All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. We've got the Sauriols, we've got the Ruckers on the line, we've got Pastor on the line. This is week 4 of the Better For It series, and talking a little bit about being a church that's isolated, being a church that's separated, but also being a church. How do we do it in the middle of all this pandemic? How do we do it in the middle of being separated from each other? And just as a quick recap, right? So this is unprecedented. There's no established rules. There's no established guidelines or expectations around what you're supposed to do for living in this time of pandemic. There's no rule book to follow. So we're kind of making it up as we go. And that's okay. So we've granted ourselves a little bit of grace, granted each other a little bit of patience with all of this, but also we're humans, right? So we're dealing with the real world, living with real struggles, serving a real God in the middle of all this stuff. How do we make sure that we're staying communicative with each other, staying connected with each other, and being honest about the struggles, the challenges, but also the cool stuff that happens as a result of all of this? So these questions are some of they're ones that I've been talking about for the last few weeks. I think it's been really cool to hear what other church members have been talking about. So I'm going to keep the trend going here a little bit. And we've got a really interesting group tonight because of the fact that everyone on this call has been touched personally as a result of COVID. So probably the closest impacted group that we've had on the call so far. So I'll start off, and I'm not going to call on anyone probably until later on in the call when people decide they want to start being quiet. But for right now, let's just put it out there, right? So you guys have all been touched in some way by coronavirus, COVID-19. How are you guys doing? How's it feeling? What's the consensus of what the experience is like? And then what are you guys doing to deal with it?
Are you going to pick somebody to talk, or we just speak out?
You go ahead, Linda.
Okay. To me, I'm one of the ones that was not really impacted by it. I didn't have a fever. I didn't have any real bad symptoms. I wasn't real sick. I was never in bed. So I thank God for that. But what impacted me was all the paperwork, because I have this boarding care. I have 5 different people that I was dealing with every single day, and reports and reports and reports. And to tell you the truth, maybe I'm going to spiritualize a little bit. It reminded me of law and grace, because so much of it was we have a law and it cannot be any way softened. There's no wiggle room, such as because my client tested positive on the 7th, and then a week ago I had to take her to a COVID house. Now she's way past being sick. She had a fever, she was sick, but the 14 days was up. But boy, we had to take her to this COVID house because that's the law. And it didn't matter that she was so upset or that she cried. It didn't matter at all. So it reminded me of law and grace. But it was a lot of work, and especially at first. The first day I spent all day long on the phone, and everybody is telling me something, and it got very confusing, and that part was very, very hard. But I thank God we're through it. I sent my last report today. And we bring home my one client on Sunday, Vicky. Now, my other girl, Stephanie, the happy birthday girl, she got it the worst, and she did end up with pneumonia, and she was in the hospital for over a week. And because she was weak to begin with, then she had to go to a rehab to get her strength back. So it's still, I think she's coming home, but it's still up in the air. They have her walking now, but she has to put her hand on somebody. So we'll see what happens there. But God is good, and I stood on the promises of God and believed God. I didn't feel scared at all. Thank God.
That's good. Yeah, we're definitely keeping Stephanie in prayers. I know that's probably, in Vicky as well, that's probably got to be somewhat frustrating for you guys, but also really scary for them in particular. So
Yes,
I can
right.
how they felt about it too. Bob, you doing all right?
No, she's making me work. She's making me cook and clean, make the bed.
Oh, Bob.
I'd rather have the virus.
Bob,
I was never sick, ever.
Okay.
I had a little, it was like my asthma was bothering me, but other than that, nothing.
hey, Bob.
Fever.
Hey, Bob. Did you guys both get tested?
Yes.
And
I
did you?
got tested on the 5th, and I was so shocked because I was going to have
Surgery. Surgery.
Cataract surgery, and I came out positive, and I was so surprised. So then we took everybody down to get tested, and Bob came back positive. Stephanie Wyatt came back positive. Who else? And then I had 2 others that went on their own somewhere else, and 2 other staff, and they tested positive.
Those were workers. The staff was workers in your home, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nikki was negative, and Dina was negative. So we made it through. We did it.
How are your workers? How are your
They're
workers?
bad.
Well, they're better. Everybody's getting better.
But one of them got really sick, right?
Dahlia got really sick. We think she's the one that brought it. She's the one that first got it, I'm pretty sure. And so she's better now. She's getting her strength back. And Mary Jackson, my other lady, is getting her strength back. Stephanie's almost totally 100%.
Back to work.
Yeah, she said, so next week everybody will be back to work. Right now, I've had Dina and Hilda came back to work.
They were negative.
Yeah.
Great.
So we made it.
You made
Praise
it.
God.
We're glad.
Amen.
Sauriols, let's hear a little bit about your guys' story. How are you guys doing?
Oh, I got nothing to say.
I used to.
So we'll ask Carson since somebody wants to talk.
Yeah, no one wants to talk in the Sauriol house, which is odd for all 3 of them. Now, all right, so let's start with Carson. Carson, why are you here? Why are you at home?
Wait, why am I home?
Yeah, let's start with that.
Because I got corona.
Right to it. All right. So tell us a little bit about what happened. Why is this impactful for you guys in particular, and what's the current state? So maybe give us a little bit of context, a little story behind that.
So I was out in Pennsylvania doing some training, doing some wrestling, and one night I just had a little cough and woke up the next morning, had a little bit of body aches, a little bit of a fever. Now I was in a headache, so I was like, oh man. My mom, she just got done telling me that nobody else is really getting sick from the flu or the cold. Everything that's coming in is corona. So I'm like, dang, I got the corona. Then I called my mom and I isolated there for a little bit down in the basement where I was staying with my coach at the time, and after that I just figured it was time for me to come home and isolate there, so then I'm nobody else's problem. So I came home, felt better by the time my dad got to Pennsylvania, and basically now I've just infected the whole household and we're all on lockdown. So yeah, that's our story.
All right.
I'm off quarantine, but the rest of them, they're stuck now.
So all of you guys tested and you all tested positive? Is that what happened?
So no, we didn't test. We just did the 2 weeks of quarantine. And for Joe, that'll be up tomorrow. And he hasn't developed any symptoms. Neither has Bella. And then so me and Bella will be done with quarantine on Saturday. I will get tested tomorrow, just because of my job. So I need to be 100% sure. But
Yeah, that's actually an interesting perspective, right? From your job, obviously, Tani, you're a doctor. You're working with the community health clinic. Tell us a little bit about how that's been impacted now with your current state at home, but then having to stay away from work for a bit.
so actually, I've been working from home, so it doesn't make that huge an impact. We were doing that previously, so it was an easy transition. So yeah, not too bad. Still pretty busy.
Yep.
Phone visits and video visits.
All right. So, and Joe, you surviving being isolated for a couple weeks. You're. I think it's funny. So every conversation we've had to this point, right? This is the fourth one. At least somebody mentions your name on these calls as the person to contact, the person to be in contact with, the person to reach out to, or the person who reaches out to them. So you've got your own little bit of fame and notoriety amongst the church community for sure. But how are you doing? I mean, you're definitely the social butterfly of the Sauriol house. How are you doing? How are you holding up after 2 weeks?
I think I had it was subtle. I think I had a couple of bad days in there. You got to like learn how to be lazy. You got to learn how to maybe sit down and watch TV and or read more, or more time in prayer, or just there's a lot of that for sure. Yeah, it's hard for me. I've never ever liked sitting in the house, and so I think the first couple of days was real tough, and so now I'm kind of in a place, I'm just on cruise control. But yeah, it's definitely no place for human beings to be in. I mean, there's you want to, the worst thing that you can do is confine somebody. I think any prisoner will tell you that you need this human contact, and I for sure do. I'm a social butterfly, for sure. I need that, so it's been a little bit tough, but we as a family been doing fairly well. My wife and kids are, Bella's in there with her friends right now, and she's probably talking to your boy. Who knows that? They're
Yes.
hanging out, on the computer. But yeah, people have called, and I keep some dialogue open. But yeah, it's a little maybe a little tougher for me, but I'll be all right.
Yeah, and that's actually a pretty common, that's one of the big questions I do tend to ask, right? So we're in the middle of, right now, it's a secondary lockdown of the state for certain aspects, but then there's also the mandatory lockdown from a quarantine perspective when you actually do test positive or when you have close connections. Give us a little bit of insights, both, you guys in the Sauriol house and you guys in the Rucker house. What do you do to stay sane? How do you keep your mind occupied? How do you stay productive? And how do you potentially battle those feelings of, I don't want to put too much of a demonization on being lazy, because every once in a while you do need that break. But how do you stay sane during that time?
Well, I read a lot, and I watched videos and church services, and did videos on Pilates so I could stay strong. And it really wasn't too bad. It wasn't so bad for me.
Bob, did you do the Pilates too?
Oh, he went in the other room. He didn't do Pilates. No, I couldn't get him to do that.
See, now I'm highly disappointed that Bob did not do Pilates. I
know. I know.
Sauriols, how about you? Joe, did you do Pilates?
A rendition. I've taken enough Bikram yoga classes to know how to stretch. But me and Carson, since we got home, we've gone and we've been jogging in the morning time, and you know, and then I'll come home and do some stretching, but and then that's about the extent of our working out. Yeah, so yeah, that's been good.
Okay. And Tawny, obviously you're staying busy. Just
Yeah, my schedule hasn't changed that much, except that it's a shorter commute.
definitely a shorter commute. Having worked from home for 2 years before all of this happened, and then being working from home since it's happened, I haven't had too much change in my normal routine. The hardest part is just actually staying in the office longer. I actually work more than I do when I go into an office. It's weird. Cool.
Bob.
Oh, Bob, are you going to tell us a little bit about how you've stayed sane in the middle of quarantine?
I really didn't stay sane. All these women were driving me crazy, and they talked about making one of the rooms a ramp and making all this big doors wider so we can have non-ambulatory. And I said, quiet, because then I'm going to build it in my mind at night. I said, I have to talk to the fire marshal first. So I got some answers. So I'm hanging in there.
That's good.
But I need freedom.
I think Joe probably echoes that sentiment a little bit. All right, cool. So let's talk a little bit about staying in contact, because we touched on it a little bit, right? With people mentioning Joe and others. Who are you staying in contact with? What does that contact look like? How are you making sure that you are, staying in some sort of community in the middle of all this? And what would you say is the biggest challenge to that right now? Joe, I'll let you start. Joe, Tawny.
No.
So, yeah, I think we've been trying to stay as busy. Me and Carson got on working on the boat, and and with that, Pat Lopez and Bernie, they kept in contact. Hey, you need anything? And I don't want to forget those guys, because that was huge. He went and bought us a couple of batteries from Costco. And then my buddy Dave, he delivered some woodworking tools and some machinery, and so there's from that, of course we're just super blessed, that we have this community of friends, and you check in on us, and we appreciate that, Josh. And so it's fine. Things are fine. It is what it is here, and I think we're doing, we're handling it the best that we can possibly, and it's it's a transition, but I think for us, I want to make sure that with my wife and my son and my daughter, like we've got nothing to complain about, and we're going through all kinds of changes. So many balls are up in the air in this family right now. There's so many that won't bore you with what we're going through right now. But man, we're just blessed, man. Thankful for our friends and our family, and people keep us in prayers, and and that none of us really have gotten real sick through this, and we're thankful for the breath, and we're thankful for the blood that runs through us, and that we can get up and continue to encourage, and people are encouraging us, and so that's I don't even remember what you asked, man.
Like some not.
You did great, Joe. That was
getting me started, bro. I was trying to keep quiet over here.
Joe, staying quiet in this conversation, and I wasn't going to let you do it. So there we go. That's exactly what I was hoping for.
I came into this conversation thinking, Joe, the less you say, the better. Just try to get out of here, with your skin on, because
Yeah. Hey, Joe and Tawny, we missed you camping in Mammoth because of this COVID-19. That was a real bummer. That I would have loved to have spent 3 or 4 days hiking and fishing and hanging out with you guys up there in Mammoth. So,
Did you catch any fish though?
did
with
you catch any fish, Pastor?
I was in charge of 4 teenage boys, and I tied more hooks and created more trout lines, and so I never really got to fish much. I spent most of the time teaching them how to tie hooks and things like that. So tragically, up there in Mammoth, there's so many people up there right now because there's nothing people can do except for camp, and so Mammoth is like packed out, and the fishing lakes are packed out and totally overfished. And so not many people are catching fish right now in Mammoth because there's just so much fishing going on and has been going on for the last 3 months that
Well, I caught all the fish before you got there.
yeah.
There's the culprit.
Yeah, thank you for that, by the way.
I was going to say, this sounds like a really big first world problem, that we went camping and we couldn't catch fish in the middle of a pandemic. That sounds really, really rough.
But we did miss Joe and Tawny because it is so awesome to just hang out with people, and so we missed you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I think that actually does call out something that's really challenging, right? So we're in the middle of all this stuff. We're separated from each other. It is easy to miss each other. It is easy to miss the communication, to miss the gatherings, to miss the opportunities to see each other's faces. Like, there's something really powerful about gathering together that is a challenge when we can't. And that's something that we have to acknowledge, because I'm sure that it's not just you guys that have dealt with this and are dealing with it right now. The broader church is dealing with this. And something that came up in the last few weeks that was really interesting is that as a result of this, this pandemic, the quarantine, the isolation, the opportunities to contact other people that maybe you normally wouldn't in the middle of a normal sort of routine has actually come up as well. So that's one question I want to ask you is, who have you reached out to that maybe you normally hadn't? Could be in the church, could be elsewhere. Who have you talked to that you normally would not have reached out to, but because of the way that the situation is right now, you probably talked to them a little bit more than you expected or had previously?
Well, there's a lady I met at the dog park that is interested in a Bible study. So I ended up talking to her on the phone a lot. And she asked me lots of questions, Bible questions. And we had to hold off the Bible study. We're supposed to do it this Saturday. So that was one person.
And she wants to be baptized.
And she wants to be baptized too.
Oh, I don't know. That's awesome. I wonder if you can do a Zoom baptism. That might be a thing we should probably look into at some point.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier, right, Pastor? Not creating a permanent solution for a temporary problem. I think we can probably.
Hey, we'll get them on we'll get them on a diving board. They'll jump in, as we call the name of Jesus over them, and
whatever works. It's a new world out there. There's no rule book. How about you guys, Sauriols? Have you guys reached out to or stayed in contact with folks that maybe you hadn't normally talked to because of COVID? It's okay to say no. I'm just
no. I would say no. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, since I joined this church, I started cutting out the fat, and it's like, all right, man, hold on. It's like anyways, because I had a lot of fat, so one of my best friends, like I kind of like confession time is Andrew Valine. He that punk hasn't called me once to say, hey, are you guys okay during Corona? This what's going on with the riots? How you guys holding up? Not one phone call from that punk. I'm a little bitter. So he's on the verge of getting cut from the fat. But you know what? There's so many people in this church I know that's just that they're sitting at home. I hadn't talked to Eddie Padilla in a couple of weeks. And that guy's been on my heart, and so I know there's just a good amount of people here in this body that that needs a little encouragement and love and care. So yeah, I haven't reached outside of the body. That's for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
A cousin, I got cousin Danny, who we started a little men's group, and we've been going through this book, and I gave him the book, and he'll call me and he'll go through stuff with me. So there I go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How about you?
I just want to say that and Diane and Joe Spa were great. They brought us over all kinds of good vegetables from their garden, and twice, and besides that, all kinds of groceries and detergent, and they would just bent over backwards. So I really appreciated the church and reaching out and people that called.
That's cool. Make sure to let them know.
Bernie had also, she said Bernie, Marlene had reached out, and Denise all checking on us, make sure we were okay, and if we needed anything or needed errands run. So that was,
Yeah.
We're looking for a like a blueberry berry pie from Julian. Anybody got one of those in their back pocket? That'd be awesome.
This is your opportunity to ask for things, apparently. So you might as well make the best of it, Joe.
Hopefully this will make the cut.
Here's the thing about these recordings. They're unedited, so we don't actually change anything. All right. So you brought up something that's kind of interesting, Joe. So you talked about there's other stuff that's going on, right? So we've got COVID, we've got isolation, we've got church that's being kind of done remotely, we've got things that are just going on amongst the church, but then there's also social upheaval. There's also things that are impacting our world politically, socially, societally. Like, what's going on in your heart? What's going on in your mind as you're kind of thinking through these things? How are you dealing with those? There's big change happening in the world right now, and we are a part of a very diverse church with many different ideas and opinions, and we share a lot of values, obviously, but we don't all share the same exact opinions on things, and it's better for that, I think. So tell us a little bit about what, with all the societal things that are going on right now, what's your thought processes? Where's your heart at? Where's your head at?
So I have good friends on both sides of the spectrum, that are diehard, hardcore left and hardcore right. And I listen to both sides, and, I play the advocate, I know I can get in that conversation, a worldly conversation, but from a spiritual standpoint and a godly standpoint, like, it really doesn't, I really try not to set my mind too much on that kind of, the world's affairs, because it's a dumb game, and you win dumb prizes in that realm. And so we're not talking about heaven and hell in this, and right and wrong and forgiveness. And I keep bringing up, the choice matter in this. You can set your mind on everything that's going wrong in this world. You can set your mind on what, Christ has got going on for us, and what's to come. And simplify it even to this, is that we walk into a library, and there's 2 books left. There's one by Malcolm X, who I really like, because if you know anything about me, if you punch me, I'm gonna punch you back. And that is, that's worldly logic. And that's, that's good, right, from a world standpoint. But, if you got the choice of picking up the book from Martin Luther King, and the example is love and forgiveness, and I think that's the thing that keeps, that doesn't get communicated during all this. It's like, look, some bad things happened a long time ago. And, and you can't be holding people still accountable for things that our parents did or, other parents did. And, as a matter of fact, my ancestors, might have been on the side of, you can just go down a deep hole. Again, it's, this dumb prizes, dumb games scenario. But I think that to get back to the idea of, forgiving and walking in that place of love, and that's my thought about trying to, get past this. And, and it's one person at a time, right? Like, I can go on social media, but that doesn't communicate to anybody. What communicates is one relationship at a time. It can change, I think, the world. But it has to start here at the household. If I'm beating my wife, but I got mercy for everybody else, it doesn't work, man. So I gotta love my wife here, and then maybe if I got a little love for you, Josh, maybe.
I can work on that.
Well, I'm working on it.
Come on now.
There's room for improvement, and we can make that work. I think it's okay. Linda, I know Bob's gonna claim.
Everything that's happening, I just say, Maranatha, come quickly, Lord Jesus. And I see that we're entering into the last days, and there's going to be true justice when Jesus comes. Until then, their sinful man is never going to bring it in. So they'll just beat their heads against the wall and fight and scream and yell, and it won't accomplish anything. But when Jesus comes and rules with a rod of iron, then we're going to see everything that everyone's looking for. So I praise God for that.
All right.
Yeah.
So a lighter question, I guess, that I can ask everyone is, and Bob, I don't know, did you want to add anything to that? You good?
No, my wife said I can't talk.
I did not say that.
I was going to ask so Joe talked about beating his wife. Is your wife beating you? Is that what's going on at this point?
She yells at me.
You hurt your feelings?
Yes.
Oh, brother.
So let's talk a little bit about so we've been in isolation. We've been in some sort of quarantine, whether it's the medical requirement or otherwise. A lot of people are trying new things. They're doing new experiments with food and cooking. Like for me, it's all about the cooking, right? So I want to try new things with food and explore and do all these different things. What's something new that you've tried during this isolation period? It can be a new talent, or it can just be an enhancement of an existing one. And it's not a requirement. I don't have to, it's not a requirement that you actually did do better. I'm just curious if you had.
Uh-oh.
I'll just say that, I just kind of been reading, more books, right? Like, I'm thirsting. I've taken a lot of classes from, from the junior college, and everything that has to say about religion from a worldly standpoint. And now I'm starting to, reflect on what, old Christian theologians and historians have to say on the same subject. So I think I'm really appreciating this time for learning from a Christian standpoint instead of an academia standpoint.
Cool. Tawny, how about you? Any latent talents that you've been honing or building up on?
No, not really. Just same old.
You're
It's different
working.
when you have like a job that you're doing regularly. It's a whole different experience of being quarantined than not having something to do, right?
Yeah, there's not a lot of extra time in there. I'm still working my 8 hours a day, so not extra time.
Here's Tawny. Here's me.
How about you, Ruckers? Are you guys doing anything new or interesting, exciting?
I have no more chores left.
All right.
I'm all done doing all the fixing chores, and I'm trying to find things to do. I have been doing a lot more cooking,
That's good.
which is good. But Other than that, I get to take longer naps.
So what kind of cooking have you been doing? Doing anything different than you normally would, or just more of it?
No, just dinners. You know, I'll be watching a cooking show and I'll go, hey, I got to do that. And then I'll make it. But I need to start making some more cheesecakes.
I think that's a great idea. I think,
Yeah.
in fact, I'm going to speak on behalf of the Sauriols. I think a cheesecake at their doorstep would probably be a great idea.
I don't know where they live.
Right, I know where you live.
Well, that's true.
Drop it off at
You
my
can always-
house. I'll bring it to them.
Hey,
I don't trust
but
that at all.
you got to tell me what kind.
All right. So I think
You got-
after this video, we're just going to start putting an order form for Bob Ruckers cheesecake. Linda, I know that you paint, you write. Have you been working on any of your talents during any of this stuff?
You know what? It's been so hectic and that all the paperwork, I haven't gotten to do anything but paperwork and talk on the phone.
All right. Well, you've been working on writing for paperwork, so I guess that counts.
Yeah.
Communication.
Communication.
Communication skills, you've been developing those.
Yeah.
One last question, and we'll just keep this as the last item on the list, right? So what can we do better? How can we, not just those of us that are on this call, but as a church, as a community, how do we build community? How do we make sure that we're reinforcing this idea that we're doing church together but separately, and that's okay, that in the middle of all this we're going to come out stronger because of the fact that we're still connected to each other? What's some ideas that you would have and throw out there for the
We should call 4 or 5 people every day to just say, hey, we love you. How you doing? And we miss you and miss seeing you. And I think that goes a long ways.
Yeah, that's right. Right. I think we know that. That's the small group of guys that are involved. It's nice is that we don't have just problems on Sundays, right? Or we don't have just problems on Tuesday nights, Bible study or whatever. That we have nights or days that just are tough, and so to have a small group of people, of guys or girls, that help you stay accountable, that know your heart and know your struggles, and that you can just call and say, hey man, I'm struggling here, and I just need your prayer. It's beautiful, it's priceless. And I think more of that, more of that could happen for sure.
And then I haven't asked this at previous calls, but this might be worth asking, right? What do you need? Does anybody need anything on this call? Do you need someone to call you and just cheer you up? Do you need some groceries? Do you need like whatever it is? Like we're putting it out there, and it's an honest question, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yep. We're fine.
Yeah, everybody's reached out to us, and we're really pleased.
Now we don't need you guys.
It might be good for those that watch this tomorrow. That if they have any needs, right? If somebody is in need of love or some help or whatever, a connection, man, by all means, like reach out, or somehow let us know, somehow let the word get out, so that we can relationally connect or meet needs or whatever it is. Definitely, for sure. Anyone that watches this, man, we'd love to connect with them at whatever level they need.
Yeah. From that standpoint, I don't mean to, for sure, Josh. I mean, you've been a big part of that for us as well, and but you're right. There probably might be some people out there, Pastor, that that probably use a phone call, Yeah, it's the worst thing that can happen is to isolate ourselves. Think that we're alone. I think we're all struggling with it to some degree or another. And that would be a shame of anybody in this body that would be feeling like that because we've missed it somehow. But yeah, great question, Josh. Yeah, anything we can do, we'd love to be able to, I'll be free here in another day.
Well, watch out, world. He's
Yeah,
coming.
exactly. Here I come.
Coming.
On your doorstep. Can you come out and play?
All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much for joining the call. And everyone who's already done this call and had this conversation, really appreciate everyone participating. So thank you all. We love you guys. Family Life Church, you guys are all fantastic. And we're looking forward to continuing this for sure, but actually looking forward to getting together again at some point in the near future. So God bless y'all. We'll see y'all soon.
Right.
Thanks, Josh, Pastor.
Thank y'all.
Linda, Bob.
Bye. Bye.